I used to think that my gifts had just completely disappeared. But the truth behind it was they were just buried. Buried under the years of doing what I thought I had to do versus like doing the things that I was actually built to do. And so I want to unpack that with you today. I want to cover the 3 signs that your gifts are just buried under years of that feeling of like just getting by and how you bring them back to life. And so welcome to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake, and if you've been feeling that feeling like you're just getting by, maybe that's you're overwhelmed, maybe you're stressed, maybe you're having a lot of anxiety or a little disconnected from maybe who you feel like you really are, then I'm really glad that you landed here and that you're watching today's video, because what we're going to talk about today, like it could change the way that you see yourself. And so let's frame this up with a couple of statements, a couple of things that might make this hit home a little bit more for you. You know, if you're a parent who feels like you've lost yourself in the chaos of the responsibilities and all the things that have to get done with, you know, keeping tabs on all the kids and everything, you know, wondering if you'll ever feel capable or confident again, then this is going to be for you. Or maybe you're the entrepreneur who somehow has drifted away from the abilities that once fueled your passion, then this is for you too. And if you're an employee who feels like, you know, maybe years of the routines have dulled what makes you unique, then this is especially for you. Because most people assume that like their gifts, those things that could be their superpowers, vanish when their life starts to get heavy. But what I've learned, both from my own story, walking a very similar path as you, and working with so many people who are in the same place, is that your gifts, those things that are there to make an impact, influence, make you have a more fulfilled life, more joy, more delight, all those things, like those gifts, they're still here. They're just covered under, you know, the fact that you've been in survival mode for so long. You know, this is that state where your brain is focused on just getting through the day rather than showing up as your best or most authentic self. And so let's dive deep into that, all right? And like I mentioned, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of this book called The Giver Method. What we're covering today is grounded within the book. Right now, it's available. My book, The Giver Method, is available on Amazon, and you can get it for as low as $2. Between $2 and $10 based off digital version or physical versions. I'll put a link in the description, or you can pause the video, go get yourself a copy, you know, open up your Amazon app and go get yourself a copy. Look for The Giver Method by Jake Talbert, of course. Or you, like I said, use the link in the description. I highly recommend you go get yourself a copy. This is the best $10 you could invest in yourself. Since coming out, I released this back in November. Since coming out, it's been an Amazon bestseller. Has tons of 5-star reviews. People love it because it's designed for people like you. Everything's grounded in my story, and I've walked a very similar path to you. I am a parent. I've got 3 boys. I'm an entrepreneur. I have worked in that corporate world in the sea of cubicles. So like everything that we discuss is grounded in my story, and all of the chapters have action items, exercises, research, data that's backed, you know, by what we're talking about, and it's designed to fit into your life so that you don't have to burn it all down to figure things out. You don't have to start over, you know, or go move away to a cabin to find yourself, to make these things, make these discoveries, or to make the impact on yourself. It's designed to be things, exercise, action items, the things we cover in the video today, for things that fit into your life with where you're at right now. So once again, highly recommend you go get yourself a copy. Now, for a long time, I was convinced like I had lost whatever my edge was. You know, when I was sitting in those cubicles, drowning in the meetings and the spreadsheets that felt completely meaningless, like I started to believe whatever made me unique was just gone. Like it just evaporated because of the environment I was in. And I'd watch coworkers who seemed really energized by their work. I'd see parents who looked like they had it all together, and wondered like if I just imagined it all like before. Was that just something that I thought I had? You know, maybe those moments of confidence and capability, maybe they were just like flukes. Maybe I just got here on a whim. But the truth that changed everything for me, like your natural gifts, they don't disappear. They just get buried under the routine and obligation and survival mode. They're still operating just very quietly in the background, and you know, creating an impact that you didn't even realize that you're creating, waiting for you to notice them and really bring them back to life so they can really be amplified. And so today we're going to be going through these 6 different principles that have steps and action items in them, you know, that help you spot the signs that your abilities are still very active, how you reawaken the ones that maybe feel dormant, and rebuild confidence using them without having to escape your current life or blow everything up from the start. Once again, it's straight from the Giver Method, you know, and they work because rediscovering your gifts like doesn't pull you away from your responsibility. It actually makes you more effective, more energized, and more present in everything you do. You know, whether you're operating from your natural strengths, you know, when you start doing that, you stop fighting yourself. You stop pouring energy into the things that are going to drain you, and you start showing up as a version of you that your family and your work and your community, the people around you, actually need. And so if you want to go deeper, not just hear about the principles, but actually put them into work, really in depth, then once again, go get yourself a copy of The Giver Method on Amazon, or you can go to thegivermethod.com, check out all the different places that, ways that we serve people from our free resources, things like that. The Giver Method, it is the playbook with exact steps, exercises, and stories like that I've used to help thousands of people go from just getting by to living with clarity and confidence and impact and just that really fulfilled life. And if you want to maybe take a shortcut to that path, if you want someone in your corner who can help cut through the noise, get you unstuck faster, and tailor the process to your exact situation, then I've opened up a few of our one-on-one coaching spots that you could go sign up for. There's a link in the description that covers all the details about it, video on the page. Check it out. If it makes sense for you to book a call for us to discuss, you can definitely do that. And then, of course, if you have a team, you run a team, you run a podcast, host an event, a stage, whatever, where people gather in any way, and you think that they could benefit from this message or one of the messages like this that we have on the Giver Method channel, that I'd love to help bring it to them in a way that's real and engaging and immediately useful for them. So there'll be details below about speaking and podcasting that you can check out. And of course, hit subscribe, like the video, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on what's next. It helps me keep showing up. Leave your comments along the way, what's landing for you, so that I know how to cater the material to you and others in the future. Now with that, let's jump right in. Let's talk about how you spot your gifts that are still there, how to rebuild trust in yourself, and why right now might be the perfect time to bring them back into your life and bring them really into full focus, okay? So let's dive in. The first principle, the first thing I want to cover is essentially like spotting the stuff that you're really brilliant at without even trying. The tasks that feel normal to you but challenging to others. There's this idea of your normal is someone else's massive breakthrough. These are the things you do that without even thinking, when someone thanks you and you just shrug it off oh yeah, that was nothing, there's no big deal. Yeah, those are actually a very big deal. And the truth is your no big deal moments are usually huge deal things for other people. What feels normal and easy to you might feel impossible for them, but your brain has been filled under everyday stuff. You've stopped noticing it. You've got this gift blindness to what you actually are good at, and you're so good at something and you don't see that skill anymore. I want you to remember though that you are the only person that has your unique combination of gifts and superpowers and experiences. So you're the only person that can make the impact that you can make. You're the only person in the world that can make the exact impact, influence, create the value for others that you can make. Oh my goodness, that's exciting. That can change things for you in so many ways. So we want to really find these things and really start to lean into them. So here's what this could look like in real life. Maybe you're a person who, can look at a chaotic schedule and instantly make it work. Or you're naturally, know how to calm people down when things get tense. Or maybe you're the one who can explain things that are really complicated, so they're so simple that people just all of a sudden get it, right? That's not luck. That's just your natural wiring. The research out there, the data out there, they often call this the unconscious competence, which basically means you're operating at such a high level that you didn't even notice. So let's talk about how can you spot these things? How do we start spotting them? Because that's the first step of all these principles, that you have to be able to spot them. So the first thing is start with your effortless wins list. On your phone, a piece of paper, whatever, for the next few weeks, jot down every time that you do something that someone else struggles with and they thank you for. Don't overthink it. You're just capturing data, Don't be oh, well, this is so small. No, all of them. Just write it down. The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to look for this idea of these ease signals, okay? If you find yourself thinking wait, how's this hard for other people? It's so easy. That's your gifts waving its hand right in front of you. Write those down. And of course, the third thing is flip the perspective. At the end of the week, look at your list, look at the things you did and ask yourself, if I saw someone else do this with zero effort, what would I think of them? And it starts to help you see your abilities from the outside in. When you lean into these natural strengths, you're going to make a bigger impact without burning yourself out. Some of the data out there shows that people who regularly use their natural talents, they're 6 times more engaged in life and in the work that they do. 3 times more likely to feel like their life is going really well. That's not about bragging. It's just about finally noticing what's already there, so you can use it intentionally and authentically instead of letting it just collect dust under the years of getting by and surviving and just trying to make it. And so you're going to want to really focus in on that one, because everything else here, is going to help identify deeper what they could be, but start spotting the things that are just so natural to you. And so our second principle, is what people keep coming to you for that maybe you've been ignoring. You're already somebody else's go-to person. So, something that you might not have noticed, even if you feel disconnected from your gifts, people are still finding, they find you for help in very specific ways. You're already someone's go-to person. Maybe it's for the advice or problem solving or helping them make sense of everything, that they can't figure out. And the thing is, you usually are just too close to it to see it. And when someone comes to you, you just focus on their problem and you really dive into it. Not the fact that everyone, they could have asked anyone out there, right? But they came to you. That choice, it's not random. That's your gifts showing up in the real world. Other people are seeing it and feeling it. Here's how it often plays out. At work, people drop by your desk or they ping you for feedback. Maybe even folks from totally different departments, or in your personal life, friends or family call you for that calm voice or a plan or someone to help them untangle a sticky situation. You might think you're just being helpful, but they're coming to you because they've seen you consistently deliver in that exact area. The data, in science out there behind it, says people are wired to seek help from the people whose natural strengths match their exact need, even if they can't explain why. So you've been giving off some sort of signal for years to these people, whether you've been aware of it or not, they may not even be able to say what it is. But you've got these signals coming out because it's your gifts just putting that out into the universe. So let's start, talk about how can you start noticing it. I've got 4 things you can pay attention to notice it. The first one is compliment captures. For the next few weeks to a month, jot down every time someone says thank you, asks for input, point something that you're good at. Don't deflect it, just record it. The second thing is map the patterns. Track who's asking for help. What are they asking about? Are there requests for emotional support or strategy or organization or creativity or whatever? Whatever that may be, write it down. Look for crossovers is the third thing. So if your coworkers and best friends and your family all come to you for the same type of thing, you found some core strengths that cutting across your entire life. Sometimes maybe it's a strength that shows up more at work or more in your personal life, but if you can find those ones that cross each part of your life, that's even better. And then the fourth one is I call ask me why. So next time someone comes to you, just ask hey, I'm curious, why me? And their answer might open your eyes to a gift that you didn't even realize that you had. Sometimes other people see our strengths, and we're going to talk about that in some of these other principles. They see the things that we can't, before we can, right? And so if you track these patterns, you don't just build confidence in what you're doing. It shows you that you already have influence, where you've made natural impact to other people, right? And when you start leaning into that, when you're being more intentional and showing up really authentically with that, that's when your work and your relationships and even your self-belief start shifting in such a huge way to make that greater impact and live that more fulfilled life. And so that takes us to the third principle. Follow your energy, all right? These are the easiest ways to spot your gifts. If you use your energy patterns as some sort of a gift detection system, because your body, it actually knows what your mind has forgotten. Yeah, and so it's an easy way that we figure this out. The gifts aren't hiding. As we pay attention to our energy, certain things you do will light you up. Others will drain you. Sometimes even if you require the same amount, they may require the same amount of effort. Your energy is basically your built-in gift detector. But most people have been ignoring that for years. When you're working within these natural strengths, your body responds differently. It's crazy because you get this boost of dopamine and your nervous system relaxes and you actually feel more alive and more engaged. And even if it's been, even if you've been at something for a long time, for hours, you still can feel that, that same time spent on something misaligned, it's draining and exhausting. The problem is life and survival mode, they train us to ignore these signals because we get focused on what needs to get done. Our brain is designed to protect us. And so it what needs to get done? How do I survive? How do I go? It's not paying attention to these things. We stop noticing what's actually giving us life, but your body hasn't stopped talking. You just haven't been listening to it. So let's tune back into it a little bit. First thing you can do is track your energy daily. Keep a note on your phone, rate your energy before and after different activities. Notice which ones lift you versus leave you feeling drained. I've even had ones that I feel I'm hesitant going into, but afterwards I'm that was amazing. Write it down and what you felt and why. Look for those. The second thing, spot the energy paradoxes. If something should be really tiring but leaves you feeling more alive, why? Pay attention. That's probably some gifts waving at you. Do a time warp test. where you notice when do you get lost in something and like just time flies by. You're in a flow state, like almost always means you're operating in some sort of a sweet spot. And then the fourth thing, like run an energy recovery experiment where maybe you just add a 5 minute, 10 minute, 15, maybe 20 minutes of an energizing activity into your day and see how it affects everything else for you throughout the day. Like your energy patterns cut through all of the the shoulds, what I should be doing that happen in your head. And they're going to show you like where you're just naturally wired to thrive. Once you start to follow them, you stop forcing yourself, into the things that drain you and start stacking your day with the things that fuel you. When you spend more time in those the energizing zones, you're not just happier. You're more effective, more creative, more resilient. And gosh, when you're more effective, it impacts every part of your life. Relationships, your work, opportunities that show up. It's amazing what it does for you. Now that takes us into our fourth principle, which is all about we have to dig up your childhood clues. We want to spot for gifts that you had before life got really loud. If you've ever felt like you've lost your gifts, here's this little secret. Once they're hiding. They're in plain sight. Before you learned what was really practical or realistic, before you got buried under all the bills or the deadlines, everybody else's needs, the checklists, you naturally gravitated towards certain activities. It's just who you were. And those were they weren't just hobbies. They were early clues to strengths that are still alive in you today. The problem is most of us, we write them off. I used to do these things as a kid, but now, I used to love planning things, but that was those kid stuff. I was always the friend that, I was always the one that my friends came to for advice, but that doesn't count as a real skill. We're taught to dismiss the very things that reveal our natural wiring, or sometimes it's a skill that showed up in a very early age, and we're well, that can't show up as an adult. And it's yes, it can. Your core gifts don't disappear, they evolve. The kid who organized maybe a neighborhood game with friends, might be a brilliant project manager now. The teen who was always a peacemaker, might be a really gifted leader or counselor. The one who could explain anything in simple terms, maybe they're just a natural teacher, a coach, a consultant, a mentor for people. So let's talk about how do we find these? Let's dig into them. So number one would be do a childhood clue session. I love doing this. You take some time, take 30 minutes, take an hour, and think back. What made you lose track of time when you were a kid? What did others praise you for? What roles did you slip into without even thinking? What activities? What were fun? What could you have done and not even thought about it? The entire Saturday would be gone. Just think about that stuff. The second thing is spot the effortless recognition moments. Remember those times adults noticed your abilities without even trying. Those are gold. We talked about those in these other principles. Look for your role patterns. Is it you're the organizer, the encourager, the problem solver? Chances are you're still playing some version of that role today, or it's just ready to be pulled back out of you. And then translate the then and now. That kid who took apart electronics might be systems thinker. That teen who wrote stories, might be a master communicator. The young adult who planned trips could be a strategic leader in the making. What could it be? What was it then, and what could that look like now? How could that be showing up? This isn't about reliving your past. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that were the most authentic before you were told who you should be day to day. Well, you're a parent. That's what you're running a business. You've got these responsibilities. Okay. When you can see through when you can see the through line from from who you were to who you are now, you can start making decisions from a place of strength instead of survival, because the truth is you haven't lost these gifts in any sort of way. You just stop looking for them, where you last left them. And so that then takes us to the fifth principle, one of my favorite, which is the see yourself through their eyes method. How to use other people's feedback to spot your real gifts. One of the biggest roadblocks in recognizing your own gifts, there's a little voice in your head that says yeah, but I'm just making this up. Yeah, but it's not really me. But you've probably got years of proof about what you're not good at, and almost no habit of collecting proof of what you actually are good at, because that's just our brain's way of doing things. That's where outside feedback becomes so gold, not to stroke your ego in any sort of way, but it's a reality check against your brain's worst bias, which is ignoring your strengths. The truth is, most of the time, other people see your gifts long before you do. While you're focused on what messed up or you're still in the to-do list, they're experiencing the way that you make things clearer, calmer, better. Like they feel your impact, and they say something, and you're not paying attention. And the magic is like when different people at different times, different parts of your life, thank you for the same thing. Once again, it's not random. It's patterns pointing you to real, like living, breathing gifts that you have. So let's talk about let's put this into play a bit. Where's your compliment vault? Go back through your old texts and emails and DMs, anywhere where people thanked you, complimented you, and copy and paste those words into like a single document or single note. No editing, like they were just nice. They were just being nice filters where don't do that. Just take what was said, and then moving forward, track it. Like every time, someone thanks you or praises you, whatever it is, write down exactly what they said. What did they ask for? What did you do? What did they say after that? And after a few weeks, you're gonna start seeing these themes and be very specific. You cannot be specific enough. Someone compliments you, instead of just brushing off, what exactly helped you the most? And you'll be shocked at the clarity that's gonna give you about your strengths. And then you can cross-check with different people. This is one of the exercises that's in the Giver Method book. You go ask 3 to 5 people, in different areas of your life, what's something that you think I'm naturally good at that I might not notice? If someone came to you and they needed help with something, and you're like, oh my gosh, you need to go talk to Jake. Why? What would be the thing that I'm so good at that you're that you would want them to talk to me? What's that impact I can make? It's amazing what they'll tell you. And then, of course, log your impact. Once a week, jot down the moments that you saw a shift, someone with more confidence after they talked to you, the problem that smoothed out because you stepped in, the tense situation that calmed down because you were a part of it. You might not trust your own we don't trust our own abilities yet. No matter what it is, even as you start to develop and grow, you're still going to have these doubts and fears or imposter syndromes that show up. It's harder to argue with patterns that you didn't create. When you stack enough real world evidence, you collect all these things, all these feedbacks, and put them in a place where you can review them. Your inner critic starts losing the fight real fast. And you start making decisions based on you're no longer going to make them on a limitation or limited thinking that you have. You start acting from your proven strengths. That's where your confidence and momentum just take off. Because sometimes the fastest way to believe in yourself is to borrow someone else's eyes for a while. Now that takes us to the 6th and final principle, the use it to prove it method. You build confidence in your gifts without overhauling your life, but you do it. You got to take one small step or action. You got to start using them. You spot these gifts and then you just have to start using them. Not in some giant, I'm going to go quit my job and start a company kind of way, but just in small everyday moments where the stakes are low, but the payoff is very real. Here's the truth. You don't build confidence in your abilities by thinking about them. You build it in using them. After years of survival mode, your skills might feel a little rusty, and that's normal. The fix, just find the small intentional ways, to practice those gifts in real life. So it's a strategic gift deployment, right? Using what you've got where you are without waiting for the perfect moment. And so, how you make that practical, if you've rediscovered what you're good at, if you need more help, this is where the perfect time to get the Giver Method, because it's going to really dive into the G in Giver stands for your gifts and your superpowers. So using the link in the description is going to be huge. So let's say that you're you're great at problem solving. You don't wait for a huge work project. You offer help to the friend to think through a decision. You organize your family's holiday plans. You facilitate a quick brainstorm at your next meeting, whatever. If let's say you've got the gift of making people feel included, bring it into your team lunch. Help mediate a small disagreement between your kids. Volunteer to welcome new people at the next community event, whatever it is. These tiny moves, they don't have to be big at all. Just remind yourself, your gifts, they're still here. And this is going to give you the proof through other people's reactions that your abilities are making a difference. Now, here's the kicker. That starts to create this positive feedback loop. And we talked about taking people's feedback. So you use your gifts, people benefit, you're more confident, you use it again. You get some feedback, you start to put it into play, you get more feedback, you keep going. Gosh, that's how your buried gifts become everyday strengths again. So start right now. Look for that gift integration, where you can do it. Look at your week ahead. Where could you naturally use one of your gifts in something you're already doing? No new commitments, just a different approach. Being more intentional, more authentic in that approach. Maybe look for some small stage experiments. Test your gifts in the low pressure settings, maybe with a family member or a family gathering or a volunteer spot, casual work conversations. You don't have to try to change the whole world with it yet. Then there's like that daily gift integration where you use one gift in a small way every day for the next week. You're like, today I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to find the ways, whether it be at the store, when I'm with my kids, when I'm in the pickup line, whatever that may be. Just start looking for one time a day. It doesn't matter how small it is. Stacking these wins matters more than the size of the win. And then look for progressive growth. Start tiny and then slowly raise the stakes. Teach one person, then a group, then lead a workshop. You don't try to teach a workshop first. And then feedback check-in is important. After you use a gift, like notice how others responded, how you felt. That's real world proof that you're back in the zone. Like recognition without action, like it's going to fade fast. So strategic deployment of these gifts is about rebuilding this identity that like has as someone who shows up with their strengths very authentically, not just remembers what their strengths are. And when you see yourself delivering value in this real, in the real world, you stop wondering if you still got it, if you still can do it. And you start proving to yourself that you never lost it in the first place. And so overall, the thing to take away, like your gifts were never gone. Never. They've been buried under the years of doing what you had to do and pushing through and showing up in meetings and obligations, like instead of living in your natural lane. And I get it. I said, I know what that feels like what you're going through the motions, to wonder if you're fooling yourself thinking like if you've got anything special left to offer, to feel like the best parts of you somehow got swallowed up by real life. But here's what I learned both from my own story and from working with so many other people. These gifts that like truly can be superpowers to make amazing impact in people's lives. They don't fade with age. They don't vanish because life got messy. They don't expire because like you've been in this survival mode. They just go quiet, waiting for you to start listening again. And that's what these principles are for. Now, they're not just exercises. They are a roadmap for remembering who you were before like life told you to tone it down. And combining that with all the wisdom that you picked up along the way, my goodness, it's going to be huge what you can do. So spotting those like things that you just effortless to you. You realize the stuff that you brushed off was no big deal is actually really valuable. When you notice patterns, that what people are coming to you for, that you're the go-to person. When you pay attention to your energy and what's like building energy versus draining you, you dig into your past and reconnect with the old you. You collect all that feedback and proof and just start using your gifts on purpose in small everyday ways. You build confidence that reminds yourself like, oh yeah, I'm really good at this. You don't have to do all of these things at once. Just pick one that hit home today and start there. Maybe it's effortless excellence log. Maybe do that for a couple weeks. Maybe it's finally asking those people who like what they think you're naturally good at. Maybe it's you start paying attention to which moments you can feel more alive. Maybe it's taking a gift and being more intentional about it. Like the goal isn't about blowing up life. It's about just being more of the real you into the life that you already have. Every time you choose to notice, to track, to practice, and to show up with intention, you're not just uncovering these gifts, you're strengthening them so much more. And so like I mentioned earlier, if you want to dive deeper into it, my book, The Giver Method, is more than just a read. The link's in the description, or you go to Amazon, you can find thegivermethod.com or The Giver Method by Jake Talbert. Check it out, thegivermethod.com. It's more than just a book to read. It's your step-by-step playbook for finding and using your gifts in real and practical, ways, even when your life feels packed. It's full of exercises, frameworks, and stories that I've used to help thousands of people break out of survival mode and step into the life that you were meant to live. So go grab your copy today. Start putting that work, in immediately. If you don't want to do it alone, if you want someone in your court, if you're ready for a guide in your corner who knows what it takes to get you moving again, then that's where I've opened up just a couple of these one-on-one coaching spots. And so this is where we cut through all the noise. We focus on your exact situation and create a personalized plan to help you gain as much clarity and build momentum and finally live aligned in your strengths again. So there's a link in the description about the coaching program. If you lead a team, run a podcast, host events, you bring people together in any way, and you know that this type of thing would benefit them. Let's talk about how we can bring it to them in a way that's real and engaging and useful to them right away. You'll find the details in the speaking and podcast link down below. And of course, if this resonated with you, drop a comment on your biggest takeaway. I love hearing what sticks with you. And of course, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell for notifications so that you do not miss out on the content I put out throughout the week. If gifts aren't your gifts, they're not hiding. They're not meant to be hiding. Like, your talents are, like, they're not meant to be dismissed. The world doesn't need you to try to be someone else. It needs you to be fully you and unapologetically you. Be authentically you. Once again, you're the only person that has your combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences. You are the only person who can make the impact that you're designed to make in the world. The world's waiting for it. Stop discounting what comes naturally to you. Start learning and from it. Start leaning into what lights you up, and trust the abilities that you have that you thought were gone. They're still here. They're ready. They're just waiting for you to bring them back to life. Because, like, the person you're meant to be isn't someone new. It's the real you, finally free to show up in the world. And so with that, I will tell you to have a great rest of your day. Hopefully we'll catch you in our next video, and we'll talk to you real soon.